success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Realtor listeners. Today I have Mark. I think he's the third person I've had in the land space. So it'll be interesting to see his perspective on land. So thank you, Mark, for being here.
Vinny, thanks so much for having me.
So walk me through. So I know author of Dirt Rich, you have classes, I can tell, on your website. Are you still actively, flipping land?
Yeah. So we try to do a deal a day.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I've got a whole team, and we're buying and selling every day.
Is it so how big's your team, and then like are your coaching people, do they have the ability, I guess, to join your team, or what does that kind of look like, I guess?
Yeah. So we have a virtual assistant team based in Jamaica that kind of handle sort of the ins and outs of what we need to do. Okay. Everything from intake to marketing. Yeah. We have a sales team that also does some marketing and selling. We have an acquisition manager that's going to be managing that team and deploying capital. And then we have our controller that's handling all of the accounting. And then we use software, lgpass.com, which is our customer relationship management software that automates a lot of the process, as well as geekpay.io that manages our note portfolio on the back end. It's a set and forget it payment system. And so between inexpensive virtual assistants, a small agile team, and software, we're 90% automated.
Are most of your leads people that have put requests on your website? Are they like from mail campaigns? I mean, where do they mostly come from?
Yeah, so let me walk you through the model step by step.
Yeah, please.
So Vinny, where do you live?
San Diego, California.
San Diego, okay. So I'm going to assume that you own 5 acres of raw land in Colorado, and you owe $200 in back taxes.
Okay.
So essentially, you're advertising two important things. Number one, emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in California, properties in Colorado. And number two, you're financially distressed in some weird way because you haven't paid your property taxes. And as a result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Vinny, you don't pay your property taxes. You're going to lose that parcel to a tax deed investor or a tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5 acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000. And I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to get me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I'm going to send you an actual offer of $2,500 for your 5 acre parcel. Now you accept it. Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people are going to accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to confirm that back taxes are only $200. I have to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title, no liens or encumbrances. And so I have this large property due diligence checklist that I outsource to my team in Jamaica. They're connected to an American title company, and they go out and they do all that work. In the meantime, while they're doing the due diligence, we're also creating a marketing package because what I'm going to want to know, my buyer's going to want to know. So I'm getting the aerial maps, the plat maps, the satellite maps, the GIS maps, all of that. So let's assume everything checks out. So I'm going to send you a check for $2,300. Send the treasurer a check for $200. I own it free and clear. Now, Vinny, I'm going to sell it 30 days or less. I'm going to make it cash flow like a rental home. So I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is?
No. Who is it?
The neighbors. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, here's your opportunity, protect your views, protect your privacy, know your neighbor. Oftentimes the neighbors will buy. If they pass, I'll go to my buyers list. The buyers list passes. I'll go to a little website you may have heard of. It's called Meta or Facebook, buy-sell groups in the marketplace. And then I'll go to the lands, landmoto.com, land.com, landandfarm.com, landsofamerica.com, landflip.com, landcentury.com, landhub.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell raw land. But the secret is in the pricing. So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment for somebody to control that 5-acre parcel. And then I'll just make it a car payment. Let's say $249 a month at 9% interest for the next 60 months. So it's a one-time sale. I'm going to get my money out on the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. Now I'm getting $249 a month at 9% interest for the next 60 months. Vinny, no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act, all this owner's real estate legislation. So then it's a simple game. Can we create enough land notes where our passive income exceeds our fixed expenses? And now we're working because we want to, not because we have to.
So you mail distress absentee owners offer letters.
Correct.
Break it down.
That's gonna be that's our lowest hanging fruit. Now, once I'm in a good area, I'm gonna mail everybody. I don't care if they're in state, out of state, distressed or not. I want to just make offers and be consistently showing up, because when they are ready to sell, I want to be there.
Well, let's rewind. So growing up, Mark, did you have aspirations to be in the land space, or what were your original aspirations?
Growing up, I wanted to be a basketball player.
Okay. When did that dream?
That dream, I got Osgood Schlatter in high school, and it, to be fair to myself, I peaked athletically in 6th grade, and then it was all downhill from there. But as a kid, I thought, oh, that's what I wanted to do, and so I think the reality really hit in high school. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be a basketball player. So I always liked entrepreneurship. I was that kid that, I had the lemonade stand when I was real young. And I remember one summer, my neighbor and I, we'd go to our parents' houses and we'd bake chocolate chip cookies. We'd Big Guy Cookie Company. We'd go door to door selling cookies. And we made like $300 each one summer. And I was the corsage mafia in high school. So if you wanted to get a corsage or boutonniere, I locked up all the florists in town, and you have to order through me to get your stuff. So I made money doing that also in high school. And then I just remember always sort of hustling in college and wanting to have some money saved up. Not that I wanted to spend money for anything. I just kind of liked the idea of doing these things. And I think that really the idea of freedom started to really resonate with me. It's like, well, how do I become totally free? And what's the antidote to financial anxiety? And it just turns out like just have more passive income coming in than what's going out. And then I can get sick. I can protect my family. I can travel around the world. I can do whatever I want to do in this very short life and not have to really worry. And so that's really what sort of drives me is, how do I do these things so I can be totally free? And then once you get to a certain point, you realize there's really nothing out there that satisfies anyways, right?
So you're an entrepreneur trying to run different things. When did the land idea come about? When you started actually getting to the land space?
Okay, so the land space, I was it was 2000, and then I was a miserable, micromanaged, 45-minute commute to work and back investment banker, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And Vinny, it got so bad for me, I wouldn't get the Sunday blues, anticipating Monday coming around. I'd get the Friday blues, anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having to be able to work on Monday. So my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that as a side hustle, he's going to tax deed auctions. He's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar. He's flipping them online and making a 300% return on his money. And I'm looking at companies all day long. And a great company, great. Has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Average companies, 10%. I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So, of course, I don't believe him. So I've got $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I go to New Mexico with him. I buy 10 half-acre parcels, an average price of $300 each. I flip them online, and they all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. It worked. So I took all that money, And I was in Arizona, which is where I live. And again, it's 2000. There's no one in the room. And I'm buying up lots and acreage for nothing. And I sell all that land and made over $90,000 cash. So I go to my wife and she's pregnant. I said, honey, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time land investor. And she said, absolutely not. So I said, okay. So it took about 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit. I've been doing it full-time ever since. I think I'm over like 6,500 deals now.
So I guess those first couple deals where you had a buddy that was kind of already in the space, was he involved in the deals too, or he's just giving you guidance?
No, he was doing it as well. We were sort of figuring it out together as well.
Okay, so it wasn't like he was like a more of a mentor. He was just kind of like on the path with you, I guess.
He was on the path with me. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you had a mentor throughout the years, or has it been trial and error for the most part?
Well, that was like the biggest mistake I made ever, was not having a mentor. So I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And when I did meet with my mentor, this guy's a super successful guy. He sold his company for $365 million. And we're having coffee one day and I'm telling him about my business. And he's like asking me questions. He's like, Mark, don't insult me. Don't call yourself an entrepreneur. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your so-called business is just a better job than what you had. Because I was doing everything myself, but I thought, well, I'm making my own hours. I have a business. He's like, no, a business is something that you build that survives you, and you don't have that. So I'm like, well, what do I do? He's like, well, you need to get out of the business. He's like, the less valuable you are to the business, the more valuable your business. And so he started walking me through, well, how do you create systems and processes and automation? You manage people and incentives. And step by step, I started stepping back and just doing the things that I should be doing as CEO, which is, kind of just breaking things and thinking.
When did the initial interaction, I guess, come about with that mentor?
So that was in 2009.
Was it basically, were you aware that you needed a mentor? Was it at like an event and you're like, hey, I'm gonna pick this guy's brain, or what happened, I guess, initially?
He was just a buddy of mine and we were just talking. And then he was just very blunt. He's like, you suck. You're not a business owner, basically.
So this I guess the people you kept around you were pretty successful for the most part, and you just basically were pretty open with your business, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I was just open, and then once I realized, oh wait, there's a better way to do this. I'm like, well, help me. And so we just started meeting for coffee, at least once a month, and he would kind of hold me accountable, and then from there he would guide me, like, what books I should read, and other people that I could talk to if I got, blocked.
It seems for the most part when you first started flipping that it came fairly straightforward to you. I mean, what were, I guess, some hiccups or roadblocks that you kind of went through from where you came from to where you are now?
Well, yeah, I mean, looking back, I was just hustling. I didn't have a business. I was buying and selling, and it wasn't solving the ultimate problem. Like, it wasn't freedom. So how do I get to freedom? And that was going and doing owner financing, because cash is great, but I want cash flow because I think that's the antidote to financial insecurity. And then I also wanted freedom so I could step away from the day-to-day operation if I wanted to, and then started building these SOPs or playbooks for each area of the business, and then creating software and automations as well, so that I didn't have to be filling out contracts, which could take 20 minutes to do. Now with software, it takes 1 minute. Not even 1 minute. It takes 1 second. Just press a button.
So was this bigger picture something that was, I guess, built, I guess, over time, or was it, okay, well, I know I need to be automated, so let me find automation in everything I do, or how did that look? Yes.
It was about a 5-year process.
Okay.
Of building this machine.
And the machine was just simply breaking down everything you do.
Breaking out everything I do, right, into steps and then creating an SOP and then finding an inexpensive virtual assistant to do that.
What were the biggest issues, I guess, in finding the right people and finding out the right systems?
Well, you realize very quickly that one person is no one, right?
Yeah.
So 2 is one is none. And so essentially when I would be hiring, I would be doing lots of tests. And, who could use emotional labor, right? They weren't just following instructions, they were thinking on their own. And so usually what I would do is I would put out some type of test where there was no right answer, but there was an adjacent close enough answer, but not right. And so I wanted to see, well, who's the person that would just give up right away and say, this doesn't exist? And who's the person that said, that doesn't exist, but this is close. That person would get the job.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I do something similar. I ask riddles, throw riddles in there just to see, because no one's gonna get the right answer, but just to see how they interact with actually the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just want somebody who's got some grit, some resilience, some determination.
Now, I guess with the space, what are some? I mean, again, it seems fantastic, right? It seems fantastic. The land, right? Buying the property, pennies on the dollar, selling it, carrying the note, so on and so forth. What are some of the negatives, right? What are some of the negatives that can happen and have happened for you?
Yeah. So to your point, like it is a simple model, but it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Nothing worth doing is easy. So I think that what I experienced was, what a lot of my clients experience is, you've got to deal with a lot of fear and uncertainty, right? Like, okay, so Mark can do this, but can I actually do it? And, you start realizing when you start following our recipe that you mentally have to get over some different hurdles for you. And it could be, well, I would never buy that piece of land. It's too rural. Well, yeah, you're not the buyer, right? Like I don't go to McDonald's. That doesn't mean I wouldn't invest in the McDonald's franchise. So that's a mental hurdle. So using other people's money, because at some point you're going to run out of cash. So raising money is going to be a mental hurdle. I think the biggest mistake I see people making in the beginning is they do a one in, one out. So I'm sending out these offer letters, and that could be a 6-week process before we get offers coming back to us. And then we buy the property, and then we're like, okay, I'm not making any more offers, not buying any more property until this one sells. I need to prove it works. Well, then what happens is it works, and then they become a chicken company with no chicken because they stop their deal flow. So I think, that the core of it is fear gets in the way.
So do you help in your coaching program individuals, where to go for the auctions? I guess.
Well, we don't do auctions anymore. We want to,
okay,
because we want to get that property before it goes to auction.
Gotcha. Okay. So you help them with the letters. Do you have your own mailing company? What sort of things, I guess, are entailed into the coaching platform?
Yeah. So the coaching is basically, we're solving all the pain points in the business. Everything from, hiring people to offer letters, to funding, to software. We have all of it.
Do you have are you able to offer like the ballpark of the price of what it would look like to join, I guess, your program?
Yeah. We help everyone along the economic spectrum. So if you have tons of time and no money, we have free information, and we have free courses on the website as well. And then, tons of YouTube videos that you could do. If you got a great job, and you've got time and you want to do this as a side hustle, we have a done with you program that's called Flight School. And, you can talk to one of our land investing experts about that. We also have a do-it-yourself program that's a lower end program for people that are super, disciplined. Think about the person that can wake up at 4 a.m, go to the gym. They don't need a personal trainer. Just, I'll do it. So that's called the Investor's Toolkit. Then we have one-on-one coaching for people that want to scale their land business after Flight School. And then we have a done for you program for accredited investors. So if you're rich, think you've solved your money problems, but you haven't solved your time problems. we'll do it for you.
How many individuals that sign up for your program, I guess for more of the paid program, actually make money? Because one of the craziest stats that I remember about 5 years ago was one of the biggest flipping companies. Now it's not land flipping, but property flipping, made more money on their coaching platform than they did actually on their actual flipping. And this right here, it seems like a low barrier of entry. So I'm curious. I mean, do you have a ballpark number of people that actually pay, actually do it consistently and make money?
I think, we need to start measuring it, but I don't really know.
Okay.
That number. But I would say though that most of the time it's a business, right? So think about it's a typical probably startup stats.
Gotcha. Okay, so maybe like
right?
a third or something.
Yeah,
like
but probably more of a franchise, right? Because you think like our model is more like a franchise than it is a startup. So we're probably trending along those lines.
Makes sense. The before we talk about kind of where your plans are in the future, one thing that I had another like we talked about, I've had other people in the land space on here. One of the nuggets I took away from what they talked about is when they resell, because they don't do the seller financing that you do, but putting a mailbox and an address on the property brings up their value on the resale. I don't know if you've heard of that or done anything like that, or
putting a mailbox.
Yeah, put a mailbox on the property and get an address for that property. And they would actually see the value of the land shoot up.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't
know. I've never heard of it, but look, I'm learning something new every day. Great. Look, I would test it for sure.
I mean, is there anything that like you've realized in the land space? I mean, maybe just even for like the realtors here, right here, that sells the property in a better light than just basically before you bought it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I went on HGTV or the DIY Network, it'd be the most boring show ever. The four pictures raw land, the after pictures raw land. So we're making our money on the buy. Yeah, and what you realize, Vinny, is like there is just a lust for land in this country. Yeah. Of all the thousands of times I've done this, I've never been stuck with a piece of raw land.
I mean,
they all sell.
I remember talking to a guy when I first got in the real estate business. I mean, a while back, he was like, "I buy land like lottery tickets. Some of them hit, some of them don't. But I mean, again, you're making your money off the purchase, right? So it's a different mindset, but still, land is land, right?
Land is land. I mean, his model is what we call a land banking model. So it's a hockey stick, right? So it's flat until development comes, and then yeah.
If we were talking, let's say, in 5-10 years, where do you see your business, and then where do you see this land business going? I guess in the future, are there going to be changes with AI, or what else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just getting better. I think being an entrepreneur, it's the best time to ever be an entrepreneur with AI. And I always think that to myself about the Jeff Bezos quote, right? If everything's going to change, everything is going to change. What's not going to change? And I think what's not going to change is people will always want a real asset, and they'll always want a good deal. And as long as those two things remain true, then we're in a good niche.
Do you see any changes with the algorithm, right? Because like at least for houses, right? The Zestimate, I mean, sometimes they're really shit and sometimes they're okay. But for the land space, it seems like there's such a wide variance because it's hard for that algorithm to really catch a number. I mean, yeah,
that's the best thing about the land business, and the worst thing about the land business is that you're in this inefficient model. Yeah. There's not a lot of comps, and you've got to be the one to make the market, and you've got to figure out what does the market want at what price. And so that's why it's so important to look at some type of comp, the lowest comp, and divide by 4 and start from there, and also know your metrics. So if I'm sending out offers and I know my response rate should be 3 to 5%, well, if it's coming in under 3%, I came in too low. But if it's over 5%, I came in too high and I need to retrade.
I remember talking to an investor a couple of years back, and they were trying out different color envelopes, right, to raise their response rate. I mean, are there any particular things you've done to raise your open rate or response rate besides the number? I guess. Yeah, I mean,
it's just making offers.
Gotcha.
Really. Yeah. Because it's not that competitive. It's not like housing where, that's sexy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you go to a RIA meeting, a real estate investment association meeting, there's 100 people in the room. 99 of them are house flippers, wholesalers, and landlords. I mean, you and I would be the only land guys there. So
Gotcha.
it's just a different sort of market.
So another thing, I guess, for individuals, I mean, I guess before they take your course, what about like if you buy the land and someone gets injured on it, or what kind of is there a protection in lawsuits? And I don't know if it's across the US or maybe just in California if we're so happy here, but
Yeah. I mean, luckily for me, it's never happened.
Okay.
But, what we would recommend is having an umbrella policy.
Okay.
To cover you. Yeah.
Is that
some attorneys are going to tell you, oh, do a separate LLC for every piece of land. Well, I'm not doing a separate LLC for a $2,500, $5,000 piece of land.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you really want to get fancy, right, and you're going to go big in this business, what we would suggest is doing a land trust. So a land trust, no one's going to know who the owner is. It's just total anonymity. And so lawyers would see, oh, it's a land trust. They wouldn't even bother doing it.
Nice. Well, thank you, Mark, for being on the platform. If people are listening and they're looking to hear more about you, find the classes, just get involved, what's the best way of getting more information?
Yeah, I think the best place to go is thelandgeek.com, and you can start there. And I have a link for your listeners if they want to get the book Dirt Rich for free, just pay shipping, and see if this model resonates with you.
And I'm going to put that in the show notes, so you guys will definitely all get that. And I'm going to finish off with one last question. I know I brought up a second ago, but for you guys, for Land Geek, right? Where do you see the future of the business going? Are you going to expand into like more books? Are you going to expand in more classes, or what are your?
Yeah. So I wrote Dirt Rich 2, How to Scale Your Land Business. That's already out, but I'm not really promoting it yet because we're just not ready to do it on the back end. I'm writing another book, Zen Geek, which is basically going to be a mindset book. How do you strive, be like a duck, calm above the water, but fiercely paddling below. So I'm excited about that as well. And I just think the future of Land Geek is, can we free more people and really be that pebble in the pond? And because I really think that once people solve their money and their time problems, it just frees up oceans of energy for them to really figure out what they want to do in life and move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs into self-actualization. And that's really the ultimate goal. So I'd like to die doing that.
Well, I love that analogy, be a duck. That's a great analogy right there. Thank you again for being on the platform, Mark. Hopefully everyone got some great information. Please, guys, subscribe, please share, and go find Mark. Go in the show notes. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.